Good morning and welcome to the Electoral Area Services Committee for January the 12th, 2026. Make sure you remember the 26 at the end of those checks. We are here today on the official unceded territory of the Comox First Nations. And doing business here is a great pleasure. We have people in the civic room here, so we're going to go through a little bit of the housekeeping. If there's any chance of an emergency, there are exits, obviously, where you came in, as well as the doors here and here. And muster point is on the sidewalk outside. So hopefully we won't have to go to those levels. I'm going to, we've already called the meeting to order. We had an in-camera meeting before this, so we're back in the public session, and we're going to follow the agenda from there. First of all, we have the Comox Valley Food Policy Council here. Naomi Robert from the Comox Valley Food Policy Concert is here to present information regarding their recent application for a rural community grant. And welcome, Naomi. Just press the little button there and I'll turn your mic on.
Perfect. How does that sound? Amazing. My name is Naomi Robert. Hi, good morning. I'm here as a co-chair of the Comox Valley Food Policy Council with Marita Prado. And I'm here today to give a little bit of an update. It's been about a year since we've stopped by, what we're up to for this coming year in 2026, and also provide a bit of context for our recent application to the Rural Communities Grant. I'd like to echo my gratitude to the Comox Nation for stewarding these lands for abundance since time immemorial. I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are as a reminder, and then a bit of what we're doing, and then we're gonna be at time. So we are a forum for advocacy and policy development related to the food and agricultural system. We are a hybrid of civil society organizations and government. So there are elected officials appointed to the Comox Valley Food Policy Council from each of the municipalities, the CVRD, as well as the school district. We are fiscally hosted at Lush Valley Action Society, but we are a separate organization from Lush, so we have our own terms of reference. Lush specializes in incredible program delivery and program development, and we are all about policy. Specifically, these are our priority areas. So one, globally supporting planning processes and implementation throughout various formal processes in the Valley. And then we have 4 thematic areas that we revisit periodically related to emergency preparedness and food economies, ecosystem health, school food, and then food access and agency as well. Some recent examples of collaboration with the CVRD and electoral areas. We're really excited about the agricultural area plan, and we're happy to put input into that process as well. We work closely with the Comox Valley Farmers Market Association, and particularly updates to their growing guide has been an ongoing area of interest. And we serve as a community of practice, linking elected officials, community organizations, and those types of partnerships to share best practices, both within the Comox Valley, but also outside of that. We have, for example, a relationship with the ACRD agricultural coordinator, and she's come to meetings before to share best practices across the island. And then the CVRD has been our primary funding source of funding since the council was established in 2019. This is a very condensed slide of our membership at the moment. We have as a diverse membership as we can. Folks representing perspectives from farmers. We have dietitians who work at Island Health. Myself, I'm a food policy researcher. We have people who work in emergency food program delivery. We maintain a relationship with the Comox Nation. So a diversity of skills and perspectives that we are hoping to bring to the implementation of the policy landscape in the electoral areas. We know that you guys have a unique policy landscape with the regional growth strategy, the rural OCP, as well as now this new updated agricultural area plan. And we'd love to bring our skills and capacity and expertise as we can to help advance those. This is an example of some of the work from 2025. Just briefly, I'll speak a bit more about a local economy campaign that we piloted last year. We've been working on local procurement policy development in the Valley, as well as a federal election campaign last year where we asked candidates questions about agriculture, and we're able to build that into a social media campaign to inform election decisions. and then related to emergency planning and ongoing sort of planning and processes, which I'll speak about in our 2026 scope of work. So first, what we would like to do is build on this pilot campaign that we did last year, which was around developing these bingo cards that represented actions for people to participate in the local food economy and connect with the agricultural communities. These were distributed to local businesses. And we were unprepared for how successful they were going to be. The uptake was a really popular initiative. We were distributed 300 cards. That's all we had resources for, and over 50 of those came back completed in-person return to the Lush Valley office. We had people running out of cards, people who wanted cards who didn't receive them. So we'd love to expand this campaign this year, both in terms of the network, but also working with other folks who have local economy interests. Tourism Comox Valley, and we've been talking about the Farmers Market Association as well to integrate their growers guide into it. And we know that this hopefully can support a number of policies in the agricultural area plan, as well as the rural OCP about promoting agritourism and supporting agri-food sector economy as well. There's a lot of interest and expertise at the moment around pollinator habitat stewardship, developing best practices on how to promote habitat stewardship on private and public lands, and importantly, the connectivity between urban and rural areas. And we know the importance of that for habitat continuity. And this could be things like researching best practices and working with local governments around the area to how to implement those. And there are a number of policies throughout the region around supporting habitat continuity and ecosystem services specifically. The next area that has been of significant interest this past year is integrating this food lens into emergency planning. So we know how important food is in emergencies, and we've been working this report will be, I believe, appended to the minutes with the Village of Cumberland on how to integrate food into that emergency planning lens, where we explored 4 different policy tools that were of interest to the Village of Cumberland. But we know emergency planning is a region-wide or regional-wide issue, so we would love to pull out some of the lessons here and apply them and explore what kind of policy throughout the region can help integrate emergency planning and strengthen that with the perspective of food. And we know that the agricultural area plan is wonderful in its recognition for the need for food security planning and emergency preparedness. And then broadly serving the role as supporting ongoing planning processes within the CVRD and the electoral areas. We're excited about the opportunity of working with a new agricultural planning coordinator who's been recently appointed, as well as we have increasing interest in supporting planning processes throughout the valley, from OCPs to new plans that are developed and strategies. And learning and best practices from other local governments is really a table where folks can come together and share what's happening in their area and cross-pollinate ideas and making sure that we are cohesive and we are developing sort of strategic partnerships and vision together. And we know that community partnerships is one of the strategic drivers within the region, and we are thankful to be able to working in that area. This is a brief overview of our budget, both in kind and cash, which would have been added as part of our application to the Rural Communities Grant for context here, mostly staff wage contribution, admin, and then some materials and printing, and then the in-kind contribution from, we are both from, excuse me, staff time as well as our volunteer membership. Thank you.
Ta-da. That's it. You caught us off guard. Right to thank you. And look at all the time left. You could have gone on for a minute and a half. So we have some questions. Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks, Naomi, for coming to present to us this morning. And you're probably aware this is also decision day for the rural grant, so your timing is somewhat impeccable. Later today, we'll be deciding on over 33 applications we receive. And I went through it this weekend and I've already made all my decision, but it was really good to hear a little bit more detail on yours and obviously see how nimbly you are resourcing your efforts with the staff and how impactful our grant can be. And I'm really excited for next term. as we prep the ground, as you mentioned, for the OCP and zoning bylaw updates. So I think it will be really great to have your group and, inputting into that process. So just as a preview, I'll be good for 5,000. I'm really tight in area A right now, but I'll be able to contribute some dollars towards your effort, and I really appreciate the work you do.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions? Okay, yeah, B city designation. I think that's really important. I have talked to some of our parks managers about that because we do operate, as you probably know, over 90 kilometers of trails in the Comox Valley. I don't know if we can make them all bee friendly, but certainly, I mean, the pollinators are a big piece of it. I know we actually had a letter or something complaining about the fact they weren't whippersnipping the brush around one of the trails, and one of the responses from the park technician was, well, it's for the pollinators. So you got to remember that. Have you actually met our new parks planner in person yet?
We haven't, no. We're excited about it, but I'm sure she has a lot of ongoing onboarding.
Yeah, sorry, agricultural coordinator, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I as well, we have only met her briefly, so hopefully she'll be getting ground under herself and moving forward with reaching out to all the different associations that are agriculture related. There's lots of them, as you know. Okay, well, very good. Thank you very much for your report, and we need to receive it. Should we put it on receipt? Somebody want to move receipt? Second? It's received. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda is the resolution status report for receipt. Second it. Any discussion on the status report? Seeing none. Anybody opposed? Hold on. Director Arbor?
Yeah, thanks. Just let me pull it up here. There's one item that is getting along maybe in the tooth. So it's item 15. It says that staff consult with Denman Island Community Education Society to prepare a report on options for potential long-term arrangement with diocese for financial contribution. And the action states October 2024-5 that a report was expected from diocese in October, but I'm not sure that we've seen that go across our desks yet. And thankfully, it's the only one I can note because it looks like we're on track on all the other items.
Thanks, Director. I don't have a specific update for you right now. I can certainly ask staff and we can provide that update and have it for the next status report here as well.
Yeah, it's in a way, I'll just say maybe it's unfortunate because diocese has been one of our applicants to the grant and aid program, and this year we did not receive an application, perhaps because this was in the works. So they might miss a cycle, is what I'm trying to say, unless we try to work with them towards later on in the budget.
Okay, duly noted. Anybody opposed to receipt of the resolution status report? That carries. Into reports. The Advisory Planning Commission minutes for the Ag Advisory Panel from December 4th, and also the Area B Advisory Planning Commission, December 15th. I'll second it. Any discussion on that? Seeing none. Anybody opposed? Moving along, Electoral Area C Temporary Use Permit TUP 3C 25 for 4390 Marsden Road for receipt. Second. And over to staff.
Thank you, Chair. Alberic Marjane is our planner one, and Alberic will be introducing this report and available for any questions to follow. So Alberic, over to you.
Thank you through the CAO to the chair and directors. I'd first like to invite the applicants, Erica and Blake Stira, to join us at the table.
There's a little button in front. If you want to speak, just press the button and I can turn your mic on.
Through the CAO to the chair and directors, an application has been received to consider a temporary use permit application to allow a secondary dwelling unit as a tourist accommodation. The zoning bylaw refers to short-term rentals as tourist accommodations, which are only permitted in commercial zones. In the country residential 1 zone, a bed and breakfast is permitted as a home occupation, but is limited to the principal dwelling where the property owners live. In cases where owners intend to use a secondary dwelling for tourist accommodations, a temporary use permit is required to add tourist accommodation to the use of listed uses on the lot. Staff recommend approval of this application, subject to conditions, for the reason that it enables tourist accommodation use while ensuring the unit remains flexible for residential use. This temporary use permit prohibits the use of common public facilities so as to limit the commercial impact and nature of this temporary use permit. Adjacent property owners within 100 meters of the subject parcel have been notified via mail of the temporary use permit application and given opportunity to comment. Notice was also published in the Comox Valley Record in accordance with legislated timelines. 2 letters of support have been received in response. The property owners and applicants, Erica and Blake Stira, are in attendance and able to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Would you guys like to comment a bit? Got any comments to make or at this point? Okay. Willing to answer questions though. So we have any questions, directors? I see no questions. Looks like it's all been taken care of. So I'll ask you to leave the table before we take a vote, if that's okay. Thanks for getting up though. How do you find the seats? Are they comfortable? Okay, so before we go any further, I guess we have to receive the correspondence. We have 2 letters of correspondence from David and Linda Davison and Audrey Ross for receipt. Any seconder? Second it. Anybody opposed to receipt? That carries. Now the report itself, did we move it? Anybody from the audience wishing to speak on the matter? Seeing none. So we've already moved receipt of the report. So I'm going to ask we vote on it. Anybody opposed? That carries. Seconder? I'll second the recommendation. The temporary use permit TUP 3C25 for the term of 3 years to permit tourist accommodation use of a secondary dwelling on 4386 Marsden be approved. And we'll vote on that. Anybody opposed to the recommendation? Seeing none, it carries. Thank you, Albert. Okay, electoral area C, site-specific floodplain setback for lot 8 on the Driftwood Road for receipt. I'll second it.
Thank you, Chair. Stephanie Pollock, our Planner 2, will be introducing this report and available for questions. Stephanie.
Welcome, Steph. There we go. Gotcha.
Thank you. Good morning. Through the CAO to the chair and directors, the currently vacant oceanfront 0.14 hectare property is located along Driftwood Road in Area C. A single detached dwelling is proposed within 100 meters of the present natural boundary and within the coastal flood hazard area as mapped by the CVRD's Coastal Flood Mapping Project. Being within 100 meters of the sea, the applicant hired a professional engineer to prepare a report relating to flood hazard per the floodplain management bylaw. The engineer prescribes a flood construction level of 5.22 meters. The proposal will adhere to this requirement by ensuring that all habitable area is above the prescribed flood construction level. For the floodplain setback, the engineer calculates that it will be beyond the extent of the subject property, leaving no buildable envelope. To accommodate development on this lot, this application is needed for a site-specific building setback, which is the lesser setback recommended by the engineer. The engineer's report concludes that the land is safe for the intended use, provided that the new habitable area is above the flood construction level and the building adheres to the lesser prescribed setback, as well as other risk reduction strategies that are listed in the staff report. Staff recommends the exemption because the engineering report will be registered as a covenant against the property, and the approach taken is in line with the provincial guidelines. The property owners were invited to attend the meeting, but I understand that they were unable to attend. Alana and I are here and available to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any queries or questions, comments, or such? Seeing none, I know the area quite well. And I think it's a brave person that wants to build there. Anybody that I know that's actually built in an area like that, like especially that close to the actual ocean with a southeast exposure, or at least an east exposure, you know, they're quite surprised to find that all their hinges rust after 2 years, and their heat pump seizes up, and there's sand in their carpets and whatever. So it's obviously there's pros and cons to it, because I guess you can't beat the view. But it looks like all the criteria have been met. So I have no opposition to moving the recommendation or approving the recommendation. So we're at the point of receipt of the report. Anybody opposed? That carries. And I'll second it. Any further discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, call a question. Anybody opposed? And that carries. Moving on to number 4, Electoral Area B zoning bylaw amendment, RZ2B 24-1701 Davies Road for receipt. I'll second it. And over to staff. Who's taking this one? Stephanie again? Okay, press your button there. Oh, sorry. That's it.
Thank you. Through the CAO to the chair and directors, I'll first introduce the property owners and applicants, Dean and Joanne Maxwell, who are joining us over Zoom. An application has been received to consider a rezoning that would enable the subdivision of a 0.8 hectare settlement expansion area property into 2 lots. This application had been presented to the committee on December 8th. The committee resolved to defer the application to today's meeting to enable time to review the applicant's letter addressed to the directors dated December 5th, 2025. Having reviewed all correspondence attached to the staff report package, staff maintains the same recommendation of refusal of the application, as the proposal is inconsistent with the settlement expansion area policies of the official community plan and regional growth strategy. The property is developed with one house directly adjacent to the town of Comox's municipal boundary. The owners are seeking to subdivide the lot using the provisions of Section 514 of the Local Government Act as a subdivision to provide residence for a relative, to create one 0.55 hectare lot and one 0.25 hectare lot. Section 5013 of the zoning bylaw specifies that no subdivision is permitted under Section 514 of the Local Government Act unless the lot being subdivided is at least 2 times the minimum parcel size. As the proposed subdivision creates lots less than this minimum, a zoning amendment is required for the proposal. The regional growth strategy and the official community plan designate the subject property area as settlement expansion area, which requires 4 hectare minimum parcel sizes for new lots. This minimum parcel size is intended to prevent additional small lot subdivision until such time as the lands are municipally incorporated and publicly serviced. These areas are intended to absorb infill and redevelopment once publicly serviced. Further subdivision of lands adjacent to municipal boundaries with rural servicing limits potential for future land assembly to densities needed to make extending sewer services economically viable, thus having an impact on future housing stock densities and costs. The CVRD previously enabled Section 514 subdivisions through site-specific zoning amendments, which were made consistent with the RGS and OCP by making the subdivision density neutral by limiting the number of dwellings on each lot. Amendments to the Local Government Act now require each single dwelling residential lot to support at least 2 dwellings, which no longer makes this density neutral option possible. Staff recommends refusal of the application as the proposal is inconsistent with the settlement expansion area policies of the OCP and RGS. Staff emphasize that it is contrary to the Local Government Act to approve a bylaw that is inconsistent with the official community plan and the regional growth strategy. Please note that under the existing zoning, a second dwelling unit can be constructed. Staff, as well as the property owners and applicants, Dean and Joanne Maxwell, are in attendance and available to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
We have a question from Director Hardy.
Yeah, just maybe trying to seek some more clarification with regards to the letter that came out on December the 5th and staff's recommendations for not moving forward on the application because of circumstances revolving around provincial legislation that was changed in late 24. I did read the reports, and there were instances whereby if a septic field or tank could be put in place and it was passed by an environmental a health officer of some sort, that would allow for some activity to occur. I'm just wondering if that's been considered or not here in this instance.
Through the chair to the directors, I wonder if you might be referring to the parcel size that's proposed by the Maxwells. It is less than what the Local Government Act requires for a 514, but there is a provision in the Local Government Act for the Chief Medical Health Officer to approve this kind of parcel size. And so the Maxwells would demonstrate their capacity on site. And so perhaps that's what you're referring to.
Yes.
I would suggest that our review of the proposal really is on that policy framework. And as Stephanie has noted, that because the proposal doesn't meet the OCP and RGS, staff is not able to recommend that you support it.
Follow up, Chair. Please. I also just trying to remember in the various reports, there's made mention of, because of the current zoning right now, that the proponent can't, or the applicant can't, is kind of handcuffed with regards to how they could proceed. Are there means for them applying for a change in zoning for them to move forward on their application?
Through the chair to the directors, you know, this one has been going on for a while, and so we've kind of been all over with you about this. So the applicants have made a rezoning application, and because it is their interest to do that zoning amendment to under the 514, so they've requested specifically to remove the 2 times parcel size requirement. What I would say about the parcel size that's proposed, staff suggests to you that this is a small parcel for on-site servicing in the rural areas. We have a zone R1 that you would see typically on our smaller parcels, and that sets out a minimum 0.4. The proposed, 0.4 hectare minimum parcel size, and this parcel is proposed is less than that as well. So this really isn't a zoning amendment that we would recommend that you support. Notwithstanding the settlement expansion area designation of 4 hectare requirement, this would be really smaller than what we see typically. There are certainly many parcels in the rural areas that were created historically, and we've had various experiences with those. Some we've had to extend services, others where folks have run into challenges and have had to upgrade their septics. But the regional growth strategy, in large part in its growth management framework, was about trying to break with some of the historic practices of the provincial approving officer in creating these lots in the rural areas. And for these areas in the settlement expansion areas to recognize that because of their proximity to municipalities and potentially to municipal infrastructure, that these parcels be held until such time as they are incorporated and can be serviced by a municipality. So this one, falls in that area, that area of a proposal that staff does not feel meets the provincial, not the provincial, meets the local government's policy framework. And we suggest to you that because it doesn't meet the policy framework, we suggest that the recommendation to rezone not be supported.
One more if I could.
Please.
So based upon policy, if I understand correctly, the applicant's application is kind of being turned back. Is there a means of reevaluating or reviewing that policy and maybe amending that policy? And if so, what's that process look like and what's the time associated with it?
Through the chair to the directors, back in November, you gave us a direction to report back to you with an amending bylaw that would address 514s in the Part 700 zones. This would be one. Staff did recommend to you that you not permit it in the settlement expansion areas for the reasons that I've spoken to, but we are aiming to bring that back to you this spring. And you can consider whether you want to do that as a broad step across the Part 700 zones or something different.
Okay, thanks.
Well, I think this is definitely a unique situation that's pushing the parameters of how big a lot you need. If it comes to the regional growth strategy, I think it's, as I said before, it's very disingenuous to say that, that this policy that was developed in 2009, 2010 holds any water today when we have a housing crisis, we have a homeless crisis, we have people moving to the valley that can't afford to live, kids that can't afford to live here. I'm totally in sympathy with the applicant in that, we have to look at the human factor when we have, when young people are trying to build equity and they don't happen to have $1 million in their back pocket to buy a house. But like I said, this is pushing the 4 hectare to the other extreme. Because the 4 hectare minimum was a political decision based on concerns by the major municipality that we'd be cherry picking their services, their utilities. Well, a survey back in 2015, I think it was, with Ann McDonald, proved that there's over 9,000 homes less than a kilometer away from a sewer main, but they're frozen in time. 4 hectares, does anybody know how much that is? That's 9 acres of land. Try walking around the perimeter of 9 acres of land and tell me how long it takes you. So it's a ridiculous bar to meet to begin with. And I've said this from the get-go, and I was there when the policy came out. I think the original draft actually said should, and it was changed to shall. So we're stuck with shall 4 hectares. There is a opinion in here that regardless of Bill 40, that a covenant could still be entered into that would restrict to one dwelling on the parcel. And I know that our staff reject that, but obviously the legal advice of the proponent points to it. So I'm wondering, is this been tested in court, or are we just erring on the side of caution on this? Do we actually have legal opinion? Do we actually have case law that says that we will be liable if the person broke the covenant or could break the covenant? Just that. It's easier to do this. There you go.
Through the chair to the directors. Well, it is true that the applicant's lawyer has drawn a connection between Bill 44 and the covenant. Not for one moment is staff suggesting that you don't have the ability to enter into covenants. Bill 44 did not take that away from you. We're not disputing that at all. What we are saying is that it is against the Local Government Act to pass a zoning bylaw that's inconsistent with your official community plan and your RGS. The applicant's lawyer does not speak to that issue. That is our crux issue. And yes, there is substantial case law affirming that you cannot pass a zoning bylaw without a potential for that zoning bylaw to be to fail in court.
Well, failing that, and like I say, I have to say to the Maxwells that, my heart's with them. I totally get it. I think we should bend over backwards to allow family members to build equity in their own private property. I think that we're actually adding to the crisis ourselves by adhering to this document that was developed at a much different time. We know darn well that the air base is going to be increasing and bringing in thousands of people. We don't have a lot of developable land. Municipalities are loath to actually extend their services and annex into the rural areas, which is a total turnaround from what it was like back in the the early 2000s when there was a lot of annexation going on. So, it's a rock and a hard place scenario. And I don't want to appear like I've got a hardened heart and am deaf to the needs out there. I think that we can't just be hiding behind policy because we made our mind up 15 years ago that this was our policy, and yet we're hamstrung by the regional growth strategy because of the requirement of standard amendments needing unanimous approval. Well, good luck with that. So switching gears a little bit, do we have the ability then to actually reimburse the Maxwells for the money they spent? Because you can see on the timeline, it looked like it was all going to go ahead. We know the McQueens went ahead with much the same kind of a situation. I think a little bit like bigger lot, I would say. But, because of the fact that they've gone so far down this road, bears some recognition by this committee, and I do think they should be reimbursed at least the fees that the regional district have charged, not their personal fees, of course. But I'm wondering if I can ask the CAO about that, or we have the ability to waive those fees.
I think typically the committee will make a decision on the application in front of it. Subsequent to that, if you would like there to be consideration for some sort of reimbursement, I would suggest we come back with an answer around that. We don't typically look to reimbursement as a regular course of action. So I think the decision in front of the committee today is to consider the recommendation and consider this particular amendment. And then if you would like us to consider coming back with an analysis on the reimbursement, unless planning has a different perspective in terms of that sequence, I do think the decision for the committee today is around the rezoning application itself.
But I think it has to be recognized, of course, that it was like the last person through the gate before the gate closed scenario. Because if you check the timeline out, it's very clear that everybody was moving ahead in good faith. So we won't go down that rabbit hole today, but we can make a motion to that effect. And to the Maxwells, as I say, I think we've gone as far as we can on this. I know that Island Health prefer probably at least an acre, sometimes a hectare for on-site. So I guess the only other option would be to consider building a secondary dwelling on the site at this point in time, until such time as municipalities deem it appropriate to actually take in the settlement expansion areas like they promised to do 16 years ago. So, Dean, you want to speak?
No, I
Unmute
I understand your position, and I appreciate all the time that everybody spent on this. Like I said, everybody wanted to do this in good faith. I still feel personally that 514 gives you the authority to do this under the Local Government Act and with McQueen, as you stated, but I understand your position. And like you say, the aspect about expenses would be very much appreciated for the application fee.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. And thank you to all the other directors and staff.
Definitely rock in a hard place scenario, definitely. Okay, so brings us back to receipt. You have a motion on receipt of the report. Any further discussion? Seeing none on receipt. Anyone opposed? That carries. And a recommendation attached. Director?
I'll move the recommendation.
Move the recommendation. We can make a motion later to bring back the compensation piece. Okay. So I'll second that. So on the recommendation, any further discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none. Anyone opposed? That carries. Would the director like to make a further direction to staff?
Does this fall under new business later on in the meeting,
I think
or is it something that we can do right now?
I think if it's aligned to this particular application, so if you want to make consideration now, it's fine.
I move that the committee reconsider having the fees that have been paid to date by the Maxwells be reimbursed back to them.
Come back with staff report.
Come
next
back
week.
with the staff report.
Okay, I'll second that. Any further discussion on that one? Call the question. Anyone opposed? That carries. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Rocketing through it, we have the electoral area C zoning bylaw amendment for 8838 Oland Road for receipt. Moving second on receipt, and looks like over to Jody.
Thanks, Chair. Jody McLean, Senior Planner, will be introducing this report, and Jody, will turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you, through the chair of the directors. Here with me is Earl Braun, the owner of the property that we're going to speak about. And online we have Josh Braun, also the son of Earl, who's involved with this application. So this application concerns a property that is about 2.5 hectares in size in the Saratoga Beach settlement node. The owners made a request back in 2019 to rezone the property. It's currently zoned Country Residential 1, which is a maximum development potential of 2 houses and no further subdivision. The proposal would see the creation of 3 new lots, at least 0.4 hectares in size, plus a 1 hectare remainder right in the middle there. So this committee reviewed this proposal back in January 2020 and supported proceeding with external agency referrals. And this report in front of you has the results of those referrals. But in the intervening years, a couple of things happened to change the development context of this area. The property is currently outside of the local service area for the Black Creek Oyster Bay Water Service. So the original proposal conceived as a strata subdivision that would share a common water system that would be owned and operated by the strata. However, in 2021, the Black Creek Oyster Bay water main was extended under Schultz Road as part of another very similar rezoning subdivision project, just like this one. And the proximity of that made this one of the benefiting lands to that project's latecomers agreement. So the owners applied back here to be included into the local service area, and that bylaw was granted 3 readings. the adoption being held conditional upon completing this rezoning right here. However, with this new context, the owners prepared a revised development proposal that would see 5 lots that are at least 0.2 hectares in area, and plus still a 1 hectare remainder in the middle, all connected to the Black Creek Oyster Bay water system. The owners provided an updated septic report and an updated rainwater management report that accommodated the new lot layout. And staff has reviewed both of these proposals, the original 0.4 hectare lot version and this new revised 0.2 hectare lot version. And staff recommends proceeding with the original proposal by rezoning the property to residential 1. That zone would enable this subdivision down to 0.4 hectares, but it limits development on each lot to 1 house and 1 secondary dwelling under 90 square meters each. So, Mr. Chair, if the committee concurs, staff will prepare a zoning and bylaw and issue the statutory notice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. Do we have the applicant with us today? In this chair, you wish to add anything, sir? Just, yeah, press the little button, turn the mic. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and to be here. Jody mentioned that I asked if there's anything I should or could add, and he said to mention potentially mention the vision of what we had originally, because it's evolved over time. And to speak to your point earlier, the main reason why we purchased this property was to maintain that center portion, to have 2 full size homes, to have an additional home to support our parents in the future. We haven't built the second home yet, which was the intention, is to have as our home. We built that other home first, and the other remaining lots, our kids, we wanted the opportunity to have them to build equity and have the opportunity to get forward as well. So that is part of the reason for the additional lots that we are requesting, and we're hoping for, and we wanted to do it in the most efficient and responsible way that we could, with densification for and efficiency of subdivision.
Very serendipitous. There was another development that got the water main there, so.
Absolutely.
Very helpful. Okay, thank you very much. Turn to the directors. Any questions?
Sorry, would I also have an opportunity to speak? I'm Josh, the son.
Hi.
Hi, thank you.
Josh, the son.
The son, yeah. I'm also an engineer by trade, so I have a little bit more technical background in here. So it brought me in to try to help move things along. So I thought I'd just provide a little bit of additional context there. So when that new water main got put in, and we were there was an indication that the strata plan with on-site water was not going to be supported. It meant that for the subdivision to go through, we were going to need to connect to the municipal water system. However, if you look at where the lot is located and its access there on Oland Road and Oyster River Way, it meant that the cost to do these upgrades, both extending the water main on Oland Road as well as extending the water main on Oyster River Way, in addition to constructing the Oyster River Way road corridor, which right now is just a right of way but no road there. There's just significant construction fees associated with that, while still needing to pay the latecomers fees for being considered a beneficiary to the water main having been installed on Schultz Road. So in order to increase the viability of the subdivision, part of that was looking for a slightly increased density. Now, we understand that there may be some hesitance to allow for the 0.2 hectare minimum lot size that we have in our revised option. And it's our understanding that this 0.4 hectare minimum that's being suggested is based on what is currently supported in the R1 type zoning for a lot that is connected to either one of municipal water or municipal sewer. However, it's also my understanding that there's nothing in the OCP and with the local area plan not having been completed yet, that there's nothing specifically stating that less than a 0.4 hectare lot would not be possible. I understand that that 0.4 hectare may be related to servicing rather than density and development, which is why we completed the additional reporting with the stormwater management plan and the septic suitability plan that proved out that smaller than 0.4 hectare lots would be feasible from a servicing standpoint. Now, with the recommendation from district staff to not support the 0.2 hectare proposal, we would also ask if there was any appetite from the committee to support something less than 0.4 hectares. For example, on the east side of the property, we have 0.67 hectares that's split off by Oland Road, or what will be the Oland Road coming through. And we're looking to create 2 lots there. So those would be 2.33 hectare lots, or 83%.
Well, I don't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
But this is something that should have been worked out with planners before it came before us. And we're dealing with a recommendation here. If you want, we can defer this to sometime later in the spring. If you want to go back to staff, that would be a decision, I guess, of your father. And he's a property owner, but I would say this is an appropriate time to be bringing all this stuff up. Sorry.
Sorry, Chair. I think actually maybe Alana or Jody can speak to the proposed recommendation, as well as then the alternative. If I understand, there is an alternative contemplated through the report, but the recommendation from staff is with the 0.4. Alana?
Alana?
Through the chair to the directors, thanks very much. Jody can certainly speak to the details, but I'll kind of speak to the high level conversation that we had. So as Jody described, this application received in 2019, a number of years have passed. The original application was for a 0.4 hectare subdivision, which is what's shown to you on the screen here. The basis of your decision to us, or direction, pardon me, to us to refer it for external agency was on the basis of this. As both Jody and the applicant have stated, the R1 zone is our residential zone in the settlement nodes that enables the 0.4 hectares when you're connected to water. That's the zoning framework that we have that applies across Saratoga. I think it's probably the basis upon which the community looks and understands what might happen in their community. We do have one example of a 0.2 hectare parcel or proposal that was supported. However, staff is bringing this back to you today, suggesting that you support this 0.4 proposal. In the report, Jody talks about if you have an interest in considering the applicant's revision or proposed revision that Josh is describing, we would suggest to you that we take that back. We go back out for another external referral and staff review, and then come back to you again. Our recommendation to you today is to go with the 0.4. This is what is permitted across the Saratoga under the R1 zone. We do have the Saratoga local area plan work underway, as you know. We've done a ton of study work, and we've got more underway, identifying where there is potential within the Saratoga settlement node for additional density. So we would suggest that if there is an opportunity in future, we would like to see that local area plan unfold. Because it's not in place. Certainly I think Josh has referenced there that there isn't a policy that says 0.2 can't happen. Perhaps that's what he's referring to here, is because that LAP is still underway. Our recommendation to you today, however, is that you proceed with the 0.4. You could certainly direct us to take it back and have another look if you wish.
So right now we're sitting on receipt. And some questions, Director Hardy?
Thanks, Chair. I guess really it boils down to the applicant or the proponent here and what it is that they want to do. If they want to turn around and change things, then by all means change things, but that kind of puts us back with regards to making a decision today. So really the decision isn't with, in my opinion, isn't with the committee today. The decision is with the applicant and what they want to do right now. So I'd put it back to the applicant right this moment and say, here's what's moving forward. If you're not happy with that, then let us know and we'll defer to another time.
May I offer something, Chair? We have a file here that we've had since 2019. We would like to have you come to a decision on it. And if the applicant now wishes to amend their proposal or revise their proposal, I would suggest to you that a decision be made on this, accept or refuse, and then the applicant can pursue. I'm not suggesting we need to levy another fee. We can do that all under the same. But I think rather than having staff have two proposals on the table and the applicant moving forward with two proposals to see which one, I would suggest to you that it'd be good practice to make a decision on the one and have the applicant either resubmit under the same fee that we've already collected and have that in front of you. And then we go ahead and do another external referral to the agencies.
If I may.
I notice the applicant wants to speak.
Thank you. I don't take lightly the opportunity to be able to finally get past this hurdle because it's been a long time coming. One thing that we went through with Brian Chow right from the outset is retaining the ability to have two full-size homes on the main parcel in the center. And if this goes to R1, my understanding is that we would lose that ability and we'd be locked into having the home that we built, which is about 1,200 square feet, and then a carriage home, which would I couldn't speak to that today because I would have to be a fairly big decision and an alternation in our plan. But if we have the opportunity to look at that later and there's a real chance of that, if it's more appropriate to do it at a later time, I'd be happy to go to a vote today. But I'm not sure of the implications.
Lana, do you want to clarify that?
To the chair, to the directors, I think what I understand is the wish to retain the ability to do two full-size houses on proposed strata lot C there. Is that correct, Mr. Brown?
That's correct.
Yeah, so under the R1, Jody can just confirm with 1 hectare, that opportunity remains? No, 2 hectares? Okay. You're in the middle of a rezoning, so certainly that is something that Jody has confirmed that would disappear, that opportunity to do the full size. So I would suggest if the applicant is interested in retaining that ability, that is part of their rezoning application. So perhaps this is something that the applicant needs to come back and give some more thought to.
If I may, with our initial application in 2019, that portion of retaining the ability to put two full-size homes on strata lot C was included.
Through the chair to the directors, that's certainly something that can be added to the R1, as this is it is unfortunate that this is unfolding as a conversation in front of you, but you'll give me a bit of grace. The planning manager was working on this with Jody. So the strata lot C can retain, if you wish, the ability to do 2 single detached dwellings of unlimited floor area. You would need to build that into the zoning bylaw.
So we can move forward with the bylaw as written right now.
It would need to be added as an amendment. Jody hasn't brought forward an amending bylaw that hamstrings you at this point, so it would come back to the next opportunity. And that, if that was your interest, if that's the applicant's interest, then that could be captured.
We're going to call a short recess and consider best path forward. Okay, reconvening the meeting, lifting it from the table. And I'm going to turn it over to the CAO for some explanation how we move forward from here.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks for the short recess there, just to clarify the intent and some of the information. So I understand the interest from the applicants is certainly to be able to retain the ability to have 2 full-size dwellings on that remainder lot C, or proposed strata lot C. The wording of the recommendation will allow for that. Staff will be drafting a bylaw if the committee supports the recommendation, and we would come back with a bylaw that enables that opportunity for the 2 full-size dwellings. And that would be at the 0.4 hectare minimum lot size to reflect the proposed lot layout that's on the screen there. So the recommendation enables that process to unfold for the board and the applicant. If the committee wants to support a smaller lot size, anything below 0.4 hectares, that would necessitate a reissuing of the referrals to external agencies. That will take more time. Certainly staff can undertake that. However, as Alana was mentioning, the current Saratoga local area plan is also underway and unfolding. So there will be more time introduced under such a consideration. So it is a decision of the Electoral Area Services Committee today to support the recommendation that staff lays out, which will allow for the lot layout you see on your screen, the two maximum size dwellings would be enabled through the drafting of that bylaw. Or if you want to support a greater density, that would result in a referral, reissuing of the referral to external agencies and the time associated with that.
So basically, this is not precluding options after this recommendation. So we haven't had the recommendation moved yet, so I'll entertain motion. We voted on receipt? Thought we did. Nope. Anybody opposed to receipt? Carries. And the recommendation as written. Moved on and seconded on the recommendation. Any further discussion? Applicant's happy. Josh, the son, is happy. We're all happy here.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
We're in the Comatose Valley after all. Okay, so on the recommendation, anybody opposed? That carries. Thank you all so very much. Okay, number 6, Local Government Climate Action Program, Projects Update. And seconded on the report. Speaking of smiling faces.
Thank you, Chair. Please introduce Monica Whitney Brown, our Planner 1 Long Range, and also Robin Holm, our Manager of Long Range Planning and Sustainability, who will be introducing this report. Monica, over to you.
Good afternoon, directors. This report before you provides an update on projects funded through the 2022 to 2023 Local Government Climate Action Program and includes a recommendation on reallocation of some of these funds to better align with goals and needs regarding climate action. So if you cast your mind all the way back to last year, in March, a report came before you from staff, which allocated $166,000 to 5 different projects. So I'll briefly touch on 3 kind of ongoing projects of those. $50,000 was allocated to developing a climate action evaluation and decision-making tool to help guide choices around climate action priorities. And this remains an important piece of the work that we'll be pursuing moving forward. $10,000 was allocated to the Comox Valley Rural Transportation Study. And this is underway. It's led by a transportation planning consultant and was supplemented by a National Transit Solution Fund grant of $50,000. And finally, we used $11,164 to purchase 160 WASP wildfire kits and provide them to CVRD Fire Services to distribute to electoral area residents. This is a really valuable extra layer of protection for residents living in the rural wildfire interface. And this project was a great example of a successful partnership. It resulted in cost savings with the fire service department and presented a really excellent opportunity to support direct household level climate adaptation improvements for our residents. Next slide, please. So the other 2 projects which had allocated funding were the Clean BC Municipal Top-Up Program and the Home Energy Navigator. And the municipal top-up program allowed local governments to provide top-ups onto existing Clean BC rebates to offset the cost of upgrading fossil fuel burning home energy systems and replace them with electric alternatives like heat pumps. And the program was canceled by the province in the latter half of 2025. So that left us with a remaining balance of $48,800. The Home Energy Navigator is a residential energy concierge service that has been offered free to residents in the CBRD electoral areas, the City of Courtenay, and the Village of Cumberland since 2024. The rebate program supports residents retrofitting their homes to understand rebate offerings, how to apply for them, what to look for. And staff noted that uptake of this program in 2025 was sharply reduced, and we attribute this in large part to the significant changes in the energy retrofit rebate landscape. So this includes the conclusion of provincial programs like the Clean BC Better Homes and Home Renovation Rebate Program and the Federal Canada Greener Home Grant. So as this service has a monthly cost, and we saw that drop in people signing up, staff are winding down the program and recommend reallocating the balance of approximately $30,000. Next slide. So what fun new things can we cook up with that reallocation? The slide in front of you and the report describes two recommendations. The first is an in-house rebate program. So this would be to directly address the needs of residents undertaking energy upgrades. We're looking at using some of those reallocated funds to develop an in-house residential energy retrofit rebate program. And the development of a program like this was actually a key recommendation of the Residential Emissions Reduction Action Plan, RERAP. And strategy 2 in that was to explore a home energy municipal financing program, including the development of upfront rebates for loans, which was CBRD led. So this responds directly to that. And we've already staff have already started having some conversations with relevant jurisdictions who have successful examples of these programs, including the Regional District of Nanaimo, which has a really extensive environmental rebate program that's well used by their residents, to gain some valuable insight into establishing such a program and the best practices to do so. The creation of an in-home rebate program will help ensure the funds are allocated efficiently, really targeting household emissions and addressing affordability and environmental needs for electoral area residents through direct household support. So we're exploring all the program details right now, including rebate categories and amounts. And the second item there is a disaster and climate risk and resilience assessment guidance. So staff in long range planning have been collaborating with Comox Valley Emergency Management, looking towards developing a regional all hazards disaster and climate risk and resilience assessment in alignment with the modernized Emergency and Disaster Management Act, EDMA. And this piece of work would provide insight into disaster and climate risk at a regional scale, supporting the understanding of risks, how they may change, how they'll impact what the community really values over time. And the guidance for this assessment will help provide foundational information to understand and manage climate risk and resilience in the Comox Valley and around the region. So the earlier climate action evaluation and decision-making tool I spoke about briefly, which has already received a funding allocation, would follow this foundational work. So they'd kind of pair and be hand in hand. And I'll be very brief here, but we're also looking forward to potential projects for the 2024 to 2026 allocation of LGCAP funds. So some of the potential projects which have been identified for us to just start looking into further could be developing a funding program for community halls in the EAs to upgrade energy systems, support residents in electoral areas with pervasive drought issues through rainwater collection systems. This is something the RDN does. And community education and engagement initiative designed to empower residents to take climate action. So that's a sort of brief update on where things are at with the LGCAP work. And at this time, I'm just happy to take any questions that you folks may have.
I think I see the fallen alders hole there. And we have some questions. Dr. Arbor.
Yeah, thanks to staff. It's been both interesting and at times alarming to watch the peel back from federal and provincial programs as our society has a futile attempt to move to the right and ignore that climate is a thing. It's interesting, I don't know, this is not part of our program because we're not doing charging stations, which we could. But, you know, since they cut back the rebates for EVs, the last quarter, sales have gone from 20, I think we were at 23% nationally were EVs. The last quarter was 9%. We've seen a complete collapse due to the withdrawal of the provincial and federal supportive policies like that. In that context, I'm actually hesitant to continue our residential support programs because I think we had a good story of being a further leverage into those provincial, like we were literally called a top up. And I don't feel comfortable with us holding the bag and literally like picking winners one household at a time. So my suggestion, whether it's, I mean, I don't think the committee will go for it, but I would pivot now to a totally different strategy around LG cap. And if not, maybe plan the pivot, which you're already highlighting with the community halls, which would be to rebuild all of LG cap into our capital asset program at the regional district and with our core partners like community halls. And I had a long conversation with Fred Tutt at Royston Hall this fall as he was preparing his grant and aid application. I said, well, lay it out all out because the vision is they want to move to a heat pump for Royston Hall. I'm like, yeah, no, that's great. I don't think he presented that in his report. They just presented like an upgrade of electricity, and then because they keep thinking they don't have any money because we don't fund our halls properly. But yeah, so I would look to move the little bit of LG cap amounts that we get while we get that, and not pretend like we're going to have an impact in the marketplace, because literally we'll probably help like 10 homes a year or something like without those provincial federal programs. And I just don't want to be left like as local government just holding the bag on something that requires a lot more resources. Whereas if we refocus on our corporate emission strategy, I mean, we could gobble all of LG cap, say on the arena stuff, right? That could be probably the simplest way to go. But I think keeping a flavor, a new basket of internal stuff and core community buildings would be my preference, and then just eliminate the residential supports. Thanks.
Thanks, Director Arbor, and certainly some good consideration there. I wonder if Robin or Monica or Lana want to speak to the idea, the pivot, if you will, around the staff recommendation here, and then I think it's a fairly substantive change in direction for the program itself. Not something to be considered lightly. So is it wise to, I guess a question that I would have to staff is the proposal here in the recommendation, is it a fairly short-term proposal, or by approving what we're considering here today, is it locking into a longer-term approach? If it is a short-ish term proposal, then we can come back with those further considerations around a change to the program. However, if this is more of a longer-term locking into how we're going to be dealing with LG cap funding for the next while, then if the committee wants to consider a referral to staff to consider those suggestions in alignment with non-existent senior government programming, then I would suggest a referral to staff at this point. So that's a long-winded way of asking staff if you had any sort of comment on the comments made by Director Arbor.
Through the chair to the directors, this is something that we sort of talked to the fringes around about the impact of the loss of those provincial and federal programs, and then in turn the ripple effect on residents and whether they would still participate. I would say that our interest is in investing in reduction in community emissions. So something like this, the community halls aren't our assets, and so it would certainly support that. If you're looking for a pivot, we would appreciate that opportunity to kind of dig in a little bit more and come back to you with some principles for a bit of a strategic approach to use of those funds rather than one-offs.
And then maybe just a quick follow-up. Is there any urgency to this particular recommendation here today, or is there time in the program to allow us to do that referral here to staff? Robin?
Yeah, James, this is a reallocation of the 2022-2023 LG cap funds. We do have funds from 2024 and 2025 that can be allocated. So if the directors were to consider just this reallocation of these funds, we could we could develop the rebate program or the other recommendations that were included in the report, or we could, as Alana said, come back with a bit more of a fleshed out reimagining of the LGCAP funds.
Okay, so a referral to staff would be fine in this instance.
Certainly, through the chair to the directors, you could refer us to look at the whole kit and caboodle if you wanted a larger amount. The funds that Robin's talking about, 22, 23, and subsequent years. So we'd have a bit more of a package for you.
Thank you.
Still on receipt of report, yeah, so. Any other comments from directors on receipt? I think what I'm hearing is we're going to refer this back to staff. So it's a finite amount of money. This is it. So, well, in the near future, we don't know exactly, but considering the government coffers right now, this might be it. I would prefer that the money stays in the electoral areas rather than going to the big bad municipalities. So, okay, so we're on receipt, so I'm going to call a question on receipt. Anybody opposed? Carries. And now a motion to refer back to staff. I'll second that. More discussion on that? Seeing none, anybody opposed? That carries. Thanks. Royston Elementary Multi-Use Path Update for receipt. I'll move it if somebody will second it.
I'll second it, Chair.
Good for you. And over to CO for introductions.
Thanks very much, Chair. Dylan Thiessen, our Planner 1 Long Range. Robin Holm is at the table again, Manager of Long Range Planning and Sustainability. And Charlie Gore, Senior Manager of Capital Projects Delivery, also at the table to support this report. And Dylan, I'll turn the microphone over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction, James. Good morning. Directors, as a reminder, sorry, next slide, please. Thank you. This project, the Royston Elementary Multi-Use Path, began in April 2024 with a $500,000 BC Active Transportation Grant, and this was coupled with a $300,000 cost share from the CVRD. Project staff have already received an extension on the construction deadline through to September 30th of this year, 2026, largely due to delays with the design approvals process. Outstanding issues include the degree of physical protection, like barriers that would be supported by the ministry, particularly along the Livingston Road portion, the use of pedestrian-controlled crossing lights called rectangular rapid flashing beacons, or RRFBs. Some of the proposed crosswalks are still in question with the design, and a proposed widening of Livingston Road just towards the Royston Road intersection to accommodate turns onto Livingston from larger vehicles like school buses. Staff remain committed to ensuring that the path is as safe and accessible as possible. Next slide, please. That said, a coordinated effort has become necessary for this project now with the Water South Extension project, as the alignment of both projects directly conflict with one another, both using the same sides of Royston Road and Livingston Road. Staff from both projects discussed this earlier in the multi-use path project timeline, but at that time, the multi-use path was on track for an earlier completion and the Water South project had not yet been confirmed. Next slide. Thank you. Some key considerations in aligning the work of both projects and exploring the use of the rail corridor for the multi-use path are that doing so would create a much safer multi-use path for users by completely removing it from the roadway. It would introduce new cost-saving opportunities, significantly simplify the design and approvals process, and eliminate redundant work that would be caused if the MUP had to be removed for the installation of water infrastructure and then built back on top of it. While a request for extension has not yet been made with the grant program, we do also know that the ministry is supportive of this, particularly if it's to explore use of the rail corridor. Of course, the one cost to this is that it comes as a further delay to the multi-use path, since the Water South Extension project is not looking to get started until 2027. Given the opportunity to increase public safety, simplify the approvals and construction process, and eliminate duplicitous work, as well as introduce possible cost savings, staff are recommending that a formal request for an extension be submitted to the BC Active Transportation Grant Program staff, and that CVRD staff explore the opportunity to locate the multi-use path within the ICF rail corridor. If the directors support this motion today, these motions, staff remain committed to communicating this to the Royston Elementary Parents Advisory Committee, as well as the Royston community more broadly. And we welcome any feedback and questions this morning.
Thank you. Director Hardy?
Yeah, thanks. Just trying to understand further with regards to the project, if it was to move forward, the path going into the Allen Corridor Foundation, is that something that's been discussed with the Allen Corridor Foundation, and have they approved a pathway of some sort going along the corridor?
Thank you for the question through the chair and to the directors. I'll let Charlie weigh in on the engineering part of that for the project, but as far as the multi-use path goes, staff did meet on site in Royston with Island Corridor Foundation staff, and they were initially supportive of the idea. That wasn't a design choice that we decided to pursue at the time, but we haven't submitted anything for their formal consideration or approvals, but they did certainly mention that they are open to that.
Charlie?
Yeah, and furthermore to that, the water project is already in the ENN corridor further south as it approaches the Comox Southlands. And so, and as part of that, we build a trail on top of our water pipe for maintenance access. So we already have advanced conversations with ENN about putting our water pipe in the ENN corridor. So we don't foresee it as an issue, but it is something that, as Dylan mentioned, that we would need to go through the process with ENN on.
Director?
Yeah, and I don't anticipate the railway starting up tomorrow, but if it did, is there a need for a fence along the pathway towards the as a divider or safety device between the pathway and the actual railway itself, or has that been incorporated into the plan and the project?
Through the chair to Director Hardy, that has not been considered at this time. The path would certainly be set back from the railway. It's not, we're not talking about replacing any railways, but should rail service to any degree be brought back, we anticipate being part of that conversation and would certainly review the design at the time to ensure that any safety considerations are taken into account.
Yeah, and the reason I bring it up is, again, like I said, maybe next week the railway fires up and then we got a pathway, it's in place, and then, you know, as a means of trying to make sure kids are safe walking along that pathway and get off of the highway. Now all of a sudden we got a problem with a train going by. So I just want to make sure that that's in the back of our mind and in that planning process and in that budgeting process. So we don't get at the end of the day, you know, the finger pointing, like maybe the Allen Corridor should have thought about that and they should put a fence in place, or CVRD should have put something in place or whatever. So I just thought I'd bring that up. Thanks.
Okay. Dylan?
Sorry, one quick addition just to confirm that for the actual crossing of the railway, if the path were to cross the railway, ICF does still have in their approvals process a safety review for that. So that part would be part of this process. But if the path were to run parallel, that is something that we would revisit in the future.
On the off chance. Dr. Arbor, you got any comments? Good. Okay, so we're still on receipt. Anybody opposed to receipt? And that carries. And Ruth moves recommendation?
I'll move.
Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, anybody opposed? That carries. Thanks, folks. And now, an agreement renewal between Rural Cumberland Fire Protection Service and CVRD.
Move 8.
Move 8 and seconded, and over to our steadfast and loyal fire chief.
Thanks, Chair. Bruce Green is our regional rural fire chief, and Bruce, will be introducing the report. Over to you.
Thanks, James, through the CEO to the directors. As you're aware, there's several areas in the RD that we have agreements with fire departments, and we generally have a 5-year agreement with them. This one with Cumberland is expiring. We're recommending renewing it for a year for several reasons. The one that we have with Bates Huban is expiring this year as well. The Fire Safety Act is coming into play with inspections and investigations, which is something we don't do. So we want to get a handle on how that looks like. Are we going to be asking them to do them or not? And that's going to take some time. And we're meeting with other fire service managers to see how they're dealing within their area. So to preclude us making an agreement that we're going to have to go back and renew once we get a better understanding of the Fire Safety Act, we're recommending that we do this for a 1-year extension till the end of this year. And then when we do the Bates Huban with Comox, we can make sure they're all the same. So with that, I open up to any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none. We're on receipt of report. Anybody opposed to receipt of report? That carries. Recommendation is moved. And I'll second it. Any further discussion on the recommendation? All in favor? That carries. Dyke Road Park Revitalization Project Budget Amendment for receipt. Over to CAO for introduction.
Thank you, Chair. Doug DeMarzo is our General Manager of Community Services, and Doug will introduce this report. Take any questions. Doug.
Good morning, and through the chair, in front of you, you have a financial plan amendment for $532,000, which we are suggesting comes from Community Works funds. This is really built on building the Dyke Road Park Revitalization Project, which has actually garnered some national attention during phase 1. This project's been highly leveraged with grant funding and in-kind work to date. Phase 1 is reaching 1.5 million, which also included some contributions of Community Works funds at 162,000. This project has now reached completion, and we were in the tendering process for the second phase, which is much around the park amenities in the upland area. In the staff report, you'll see a full breakdown of what we think those costs will be in the phase 2 table there. And as such, with the increases in the construction bid, environmental and archaeological oversight, we're seeking more money to complete this project through budget amendment. There are also a few options outlined in your report that we can discuss if you please. And at this stage, the project currently has a bid on it, so any delay would maybe create a situation where we'd have to reassess, go back through a procurement process if we don't reach this recommendation today. That I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, directors? Just on receipt, but I'm just looking at the suggestion that we can dip into Area B's Community Works funds. You didn't miss that, did you? Okay. So on receipt, well, question on receipt, anyone opposed? That carries, and the recommendation, I'll move it. Any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, anyone opposed? Carries. Graham Lake Treatment Update, a report from January 6 regarding the Investment in Canada Infrastructure Program grant deadline extension for the Graham Lake Water Service for receipt. Second.
Thanks, Chair. Kaylee Limert, our water wastewater analyst, and Chris LaRose, our Senior Manager of Water and Wastewater Services, are both at the table. And Kaylee, I believe you're introducing this report. Okay, thanks. Over to Kaylee.
Sorry. It's okay. Good morning. Thank you through the CEO to the chair and directors. This staff report provides an update on the existing grant extension request for the Graham Lake Water Service Treatment Project. As detailed in the October staff report, staff made an extension request to Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program staff to allow for more time for due diligence and await news on the Strategic Priorities Fund grant application. ISIP grant staff have now confirmed that the deadline extension will not be given without treatment technology selection and a completed assent process for boring. Given this response, the project is now at a decision point. If the project does not proceed soon to wait for a decision on the SPF application, there will not be sufficient time to construct the project by the current ISIP grant funding deadline of March 2028. However, an electoral assent process without additional funding has a higher potential that it won't be successful. Staff believe that the risk of losing the grant funding necessitates proceeding without confirmation of additional grant funding. It's worth keeping in mind that some of the impacts of losing grant funding and deferring water treatment could be progressive penalties for environmental health, potentially a permanent boil water notice, and significant fines, continued interruptions, potential health impacts, and elevated operational costs. To retain the existing funding and meet current ISIP funding deadlines, an aggressive schedule will be required. At the February 23rd EASC meeting, staff will present a report detailing the pilot project results, treatment options analysis, and fire flow analysis, the recommended treatment technology, level of fire protection, and recommended assent process and planned communications with residents. Staff plan to initiate the electoral assent process in March and report out on the outcome in June. Should the borrowing approval be successful, mid to late 26, design of the treatment upgrade, late 26 to early 27, tendering permitting, early 27, early 28, construction of treatment upgrade. That's all from me, but happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, Kaylee? Thanks very much. We're on receipt. Call a question on receipt. Anyone opposed? Carries. And recommendation attached. Second it. Any discussion on the recommendation? Seeing none, call a question. All those in favor? Okay, rural community grant considerations.
Mr. Chair, I just had a request from staff that the directors consider item number 12 before number 11. They're both related to grant considerations. I think anyway, staff had asked if we can just flip the order there and then move to the rural community.
I'll entertain a motion to vary the agenda, move forward 12.
Thank you.
And we are on 12. Report from December 23rd regarding the annual applications of the Arts and Culture Grant.
Great. And Mr. Chair, I believe Doug will be introducing the report, and he's flanked by his supporters here. So Doug, let's turn it over to you for the Arts and Culture Grant applications.
Thank you. And through the chair, we're looking at the arts and culture annual applications. Earlier in December, you may recall, we did enter into a number of contracts with a number of organizations. We awarded $144,482 to a number of those organizations. So we're looking at the annual submissions this year. As we've seen over the last couple of years, specifically this year, with our change in our granting processes, a lot more transparency has come forward, and as such, we have quite a few applications here of 10 requests for a total of 105,400. As we move through the application table in the appendix, I will note there's been a number of small changes that I'll have to highlight based on the 2025 awards. There was some incorrect information provided to you at that time, so just note that as we go through. Lisa here has a running total here up on the screen. You see that the total funds that we've made available in the proposed budget is 5,000 of unallocated funds. And as we move through here, we'll have to look at those funds being allocated, and if necessary, we'll adopt that at the recommended budget stage. And if you do actually recommend all of the funds that have been asked for, we might also have to bring back consideration of the total amount of the maximum requisition at the recommended budget as well. So a couple considerations out there. We did ask for arts and culture to go first because in the past, at times, this board has decided to support, not necessarily in the arts and culture service, but move that application to again be considered in the rural community grants, which we will be doing subsequently. This is the first time we've considered these all in January in advance of the budget that's been allotted. So there's a little bit more flexibility here in your discussions and decision making. And with that, I'll just go through them alphabetically. And if you want me to read the purpose of the funding request and provide more information, please ask me to do that. Otherwise, the information's in front of you. So is there any questions before we start evaluating the amounts you would wish to perhaps allocate?
Director Hardy?
Yeah, so just confirm there's $5,000 available for the number of applicants that have been provided here so far. So we're looking about
That's in your
$5,000 in submissions, and there's $5,000 that's available. Is that right?
Yeah, based on your financial plan in 2025, that's the proposed budget that'll go forward to the public. There's 5,000 in unallocated funds.
So this is a bit of the lowest and fishes scenario.
I can just note that you do have a maximum requisition in arts and culture that's up to 245-ish based on last year's numbers. So it's at your discretion what you wish to propose, support at this time, and that recommended budget, it'll be reflected in the recommended budget that's brought forward in March. So that's all I can provide you at this time.
I got a question, Ross, about Pearl Ellis. I thought they were part of the fixed arts and culture grant.
Yeah, so Pearl Ellis in the past has been part of the fix, but
Yeah.
over the last few years, there's been some back and forth of what they've applied for and what they've needed. So this year, we've decided we didn't continue along in a contract base because those conversations were unclear with their team. So we may pursue that again in the future if they decide they need continuous operating funding like the other areas that we've supported. Of course, you have to understand many of these discussions happened in June of 2025 through to September, kind of wrapped up most of these discussions by September. So as new information and applications come forward.
So we have the Courtney District Museum.
Yeah.
We have
Cumberland.
Cumberland Archives Museum. Pearl Ellis was in with those.
They share a building.
Sid Williams Theater too.
Mhm.
So yeah, it seems it's a better fit.
They could be, and at the December meeting, I guess we could have come to that conclusion to include them with the contracts. If you want to set them aside and ask staff to return to consider them in a contract, it'd be appropriate time would be this meeting to do so. And we could consider a meeting with their executive, which they share the Comox Museum building with, and determine if they would want to enter into a 3-year operating / potential capital contract rather than an annual grant application process.
HMCS Alberni, they were just part of the regular rural grants for a while, right?
They've been part of both, yeah, for a while. Again, they contemplated moving their buildings in past years. So
Yeah.
they were kind of in flux as well and didn't have consistent applications and operational needs and came at different points in the year in years past. So we have put them in the annual application process as well. Again, if you want us to approach them for a contract, you can ask to do so at this meeting and we can discuss those conversations with them. But we do kind of need to have the awards amounts sorted out by March 31st for recommended budget at the very latest.
Yeah, I would think
Yeah.
both those would live better in the permanent. So they have some kind of consistent permanent funding without having to apply all the time. Because there isn't much difference between them. I mean, it's 6 1/2 dozen the other. Cumberland has the archives and museum and yeah, so we have $5,000. I don't think being an election year, there's going to be much of an appetite to raise our requisition.
Sorry, just to be clear, Director Creed, you mentioned the Pearl Ellis and the HMCS.
Yeah.
Do you want staff to come back with a multi-year agreement consideration for those two two
That would be
entities.
my personal preference, but
The
it has to
committee-
be in some form of a motion by the committee. doesn't it?
Yeah, if the committee gives us that instruction, we'll do that. And that might make then the list a bit shorter for further considerations. Yeah.
Okay, I think Director Arbor is willing to speak. Director?
Yeah, thanks. I wouldn't put Pearl Ellis over other organization necessarily, so I don't see the need for that to come back, but that's fine. With the budget available, I think we could probably fund the Comox Valley Rider Society for their full request of $1,500 and the Comox Valley Ukrainian Cultural Society for 2,000, and that would leave us with $1,500 in the kitty to carry forward to next year.
We're still on receipt, yeah. Want to move on receipt? Let's vote on that. Any opposition on receipt? That carries. So the Writers' Society, as suggested by Director Arbor, $1,500, the full $1,500? Director Hardy?
Yeah, I'll support Director Arbor's motion.
And Ukraine is 15 too, aren't they? Where are they at?
It's 2,000.
2,000. We're going to go 2,000 on them. Being a loaves and fishes scenario, I was trying to divide it up a little thinner. I would suggest 1,500 for Ukrainian, 1,000 for the writers. That frees us up a little more money. And the Mete Association, yeah, they're a new one. I don't even know. I mean, I know quite a few of the Mete community, but mostly through the Indigenous women sharing, you know. Nautical days, that's nice. Well, I don't see anybody coming forward, so Ukrainian Society 15. What else you put down? The which writers for 15 was originally put forward, so we'll do that. That's 3,000, got $2,000 left. If we can move the museums, that would be great. Maybe a little more background on the open door language. Is that part of the immigrant welcome bunch?
Yeah, I'll check.
Yeah. They are a society, like you say, they're all societies, so.
Here, open door. Yeah, quick glance does not to be directly connected with the Immigration Welcome Center. That's who you're referring to. Oh, they do, well, they work with many of the institutions, the Comox Valley Diversity and Culture Awareness Center, Immigrant Welcome Center, Ukrainian Cultural Society. They list a bunch that they pull from. So they're their own society.
I think they're lesser representatives, the immigration related, language related.
Yes.
It's probably speaks to our times. How about proposal giving them $1,000? So $1,000 left. Crumbs off the table. Now, Quinesh Indigenous Community Society.
I'll just make a note here that last year they asked for 25,000 and they were only awarded the 5,000. So there's an error clerical error here that says 25,000 in your table, just so you're aware.
It did, yeah, okay. 1,000 for that? Okay. They got the right name. So that's 15,000. That's 5. Okay. Any further discussion on the awards? Call a question. Anybody opposed? Slim pickings, but it's something. Okay, and do I need a direction for staff to bring back the museums? Okay, I'll make that motion. All in favor? Carried. So we're gonna have to work through lunch. Oh, Director Arbuthnot? Okay, sorry. Oh, he's opposed. Oh, okay. Sure. Okay, so that carries, and I think we got lunch. We're gonna have to work through lunch because unfortunately, Director Hardy has a funeral celebration to go to. All too many of them these days. So we're gonna just take a short recess and charge our plates and come back at her. Then we can haggle over the next one. Alberti. Call the meeting back to order. We are on the rural committee grants. Motion to receive the report. Seconded. Second. There we go. And Doug, you gonna walk us through this one?
I will. And through the chair, beside me have Jared and Jana to help assist with any questions you may have, and Lisa will be running the running total up on the screen. As a reminder, your rural community grants are largely discretionary grant program run through the CVRD electoral areas. This year we had a total of 37 requests for funding of 355,503. And your current budget currently has 282,518 available. So in 2005, for example, you awarded 236,000 to 32 organizations. So given that the structure of this is between 5 services, being Area A, B, C, and then Denman and Hornby Island, I think we'll run through it alphabetically. You guys can deliberate on the amount that you wish to consider. And then from there, you can watch your totals in each of the areas move along as Lisa inputs them. And if you wish to go back and revisit any at the end, we have that opportunity to do that as well. In your attachment in the staff report, it had the 2025 award amounts and then the 2026 request amounts, as well as the purpose of the funding request. Again, I'm open for any questions for the purpose of funding or further explanation if you want to engage me in questions during that time period. Otherwise, we'll just kind of go through them alphabetically and move forward with that. So with that, we can start with the Anderton Therapeutic Garden Society with a request of $4,000.
Director Hardy.
Yeah, Chair, I'll contribute $4,000 from RVB for Anderson Garden Society.
Max the total amount. So unless Charity, you want me just to move through them in order once they reach the total?
We'll just go through them. We can always go back and revisit.
Exactly. So the next is Arts Denman, and they've requested 7,000.
Yeah. No coughing, sneezing, or snorting.
Next up is the Association for Denman Island Marine Stewards of 3,500 request.
2,000 from Denman Island Function.
Next is a Beaufort Watershed Stewards, request of 10,000.
4,500 from the Bainstown Function.
Next up is.
Oh, hold on, we got Beaufort Watersheds, they want 10, we got 45. So you want to split the other ones? So area C and B will split. 2750, yeah.
So you got that. Okay. Following Beaufort, we have the Bread for Life through the International Christian Mission Services, seeking 28,000.
Area C will contribute $20,000.
B will contribute 4.
Next, we have the British Columbia Conservation Foundation, and I do have a quick comment for your consideration here is looking at their project list. They currently have no focus project in the CVRD based on their current website. So this is a little bit more of a provincial-wide organization. So I did look at their list of proposed projects, and they don't have any within the CVRD that I'm aware of, based on what I could find on their website. But they are requesting 10,000.
B will contribute $3,350.
So
just to be clear, they're not a provincial organization.
No, they're not a provincial
They're not
organization.
funded by the province.
They look, that's correct. They're Fish and Wildlife Resources collaborate throughout the province to reach conservation goals provincially wide and data feedback.
So I'll match area B.
Okay, the Comox Valley Children's Daycare Society, and I also have a comment here. They do have childcare, primary is their piece here, but they do other types of events. This is one of those ones where it's not clear that they're totally within a CVRD mandate, not in a provincial mandate from our findings, but some of the funds can be used for the family social events to those that attend the daycare providers. So I'll just leave that for your consideration to think about when looking at daycare.
I think I was part of the Comox Valley Children's Daycare Society, but I'm thinking they're probably not one of the highest priorities at this point. It's not from our perspective. So I'll do a buy.
The next one is the Comox Valley Family Services Association for the Early Years Collaborative. Just for clarity that they're kind of combined there. They're seeking 20,000.
Or you see it put in 10,000.
2,000 from Bainstown.
Area B put in 3,000, sorry, 3,500.
Next one is the Comox Valley Healthcare Society, and I do have a comment here as well. It's basically living residents for subsidized living of some portion of based on their income. And typically I would consider Island Health being responsible for this facility for the most part. They are looking for outdoor environment improvements, but I'll leave it with that for your consideration.
I'll give them a buy for now.
I'll Area B will contribute 3,500.
That's up at Cumberland Lodge.
Yes, Cumberland.
Okay, well,
They do a lot of work with elders.
they do. They looked after a step grandfather of mine. Okay, I'll match area B.
3,500 each through B.
35.
Yeah, okay. Next up is Comox Valley Land Trust, and they're seeking $15,000.
2,000 from Bainstown.
700 from C.
And we're talking lands trust.
7,000, sorry.
Yes, Comox Valley Land Trust.
What did you give him last year? 12? Yeah.
We gave them 12 last year, correct?
So what are we at then right now then after A and C?
7, 8, 9.
9? Okay. I'll Area B will contribute 3,500.
Is that over the ask though?
I'm just trying to see the total. Just, yeah.
Oh, it is, okay.
So they had 15,000. Next up is the Comox Valley Naturalist Society, and they're seeking 1,740. Next up is the Comox Valley Project Watershed Society, and they're seeking 12,500.
3,000 from Bainstown. I appreciate they're trying to improve the water quality data collection, working with a bunch of different partners. So I like seeing them. I mean, they've been pretty focused on the one project here at the estuary, but it's nice to see them grow some legs in new spaces that will be of high benefit to volunteer groups that monitor our watersheds across the Comox Valley. So kudos to them. Yeah, so 3,000 from Bainstown.
He'll make 3,000 as well.
Ditto.
Okay, 1,000 across the board. The Comox Valley Recovery Center, I do have a comment again here. They have lots of providers. In the past, they've also looked at the Comox Valley Foundation to support them, past recipients in the past, again, very closely connected with Island Health, as well as the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction. So they're kind of in that provincial landscape, but again, their grants in front of you, seeking $10,000.
You make a contribution of 4,000.
I'll match that.
Okay, and the Cumberland Community School Society, I do have a comment here as well. This is a need of many schools throughout the region and maybe better suited in a provincial mandate, the food security and food share for students and residents, but they are seeking 5,000.
You make a contribution of 2,500.
Okay, next is the Denman Health Center Society. I think we talked about this a bit last year, but again, it's a primary care medical clinic for the most part.
You back up one,
Oh, sorry.
I'll back up one and we'll make it 5,000. I'll add 25.
So the Cumberland Community School Society for 5,000 from Area C. Okay, again, the Denman Health Center Society is primarily a primary care and medical clinic, and they're seeking 20,000 to assist with their operations.
2,000 and if it's possible to include in the letter, in the award letter, or some, in the email communication, that they should consider approaching the hospital board when we do our capital funding. They're kind of a private business, but there's a pretty healthy hospital board discussion going on around funding rural clinics. So
I think Director Arbor, actually, you're right, there is that healthy discussion happening, and we're still petitioning the Island Health and Province to get designated facilities. This particular Denman Health Center Society is already on that list, so we're in contact with them. So
you're already in contact? Okay, good.
Yeah, Jake's
So
telling me
then
they are one of the.
ignore my comment.
Yeah.
Comment? Okay. Thank you, CAO. Next up, we have the Denman Island Climate Action Network, and they're seeking 2,500.
2,000 from then.
Next up, we have the Denman Island Preschool Society, Blackberry Lane, and this one's a little different from the other daycare society where they do provide other programs such as Captain Goose and Sea Stars outside of just their daycare care. So I'd say they're in the right space here to seek grants. What the proportion amount is unclear, but they're basically seeking 10,000.
So that's Denman. Oh, it's Blackberry Lane?
Sorry. Blackberry, yes.
Yeah, I can't fund them this year. Carry on.
Next one is the Denman Island Rec Commission Society. So we do have are about to continue our contracts with Dirks through the community hall service, but this one sits a little bit outside of that. So we thought it was appropriate to bring forward as they're looking to help fund and build their library connection. So from here, they've suggested $1,500, which to my understanding will mostly be used in new book purchases or used book purchases to build their library a little bit better.
I have 1,362. Something's not driving here. Can I look at my total for Denman? It should be 12,362. Oh, right behind me. 12. Yeah, and the total I've allocated so far should also be 12,362. I think. Where does that show up? Where have I?
The red line, 8,500 allocated.
Oh, are we missing something? Yeah, can we just squeeze back just rapidly through the projects? I have 2,500 for Arts Denman. I have 2,000 for Adams. So far, so good. I have 2,500 for Denman Preschool. She got it.
Watershed.
Denman Preschool, 2,500.
So I can just.
That one was missing?
Sorry, you Denman Island Preschool? You
Yeah,
didn't-
2,500. So I
Okay,
guess
that
we
was
skipped them.
you didn't suggest that at the.
Okay, yeah,
So
2,500.
Okay,
I have Denman Health at 2,000, Denman Climate at 2,000. And finally, Denman Recreation Commission at 1,362, and that should exhaust the budget. All right, thanks.
okay. Next up is Dig FM, looking for a radio license for 7,613.
Cool Community Radio, 2,500 from Bainson.
I'll put in 1,000.
Next up, we have the Eureka Support Society, seeking 12,000.
Now, have they traditionally received money over the years? I seem to remember them coming up.
Yeah, last year they didn't,
They
but in
didn't,
years
no.
past, they have. This last one was in 2023. Yeah, so last time you supported them was in 2023.
To what extent?
12,000.
12,000?
Area Pia contribute 3,500.
I'll give them 6.
Okay. Next up is the Hornby Festival Society for 10,000.
4,000 for that one. It's my past employer and the worst job I ever had. Definitely the most stressful one, running a festival.
Next up is the Hornby Island Daycare Society, and once again, this is largely a provincial kind of mandate. They are part of the $10 a day daycare program, and they're looking for improvements to their building and seeking 10,200.
Yeah, this one, I think it's capital project, right, as I recall there.
Yep.
So I like those ones because it's like one time, it's not operating fund. So I got it at $7,452. 7,452.
That's what you have left, or that's what you're giving?
No, I still have a little bit here.
So he's giving
Their daycare society, I'll give them 2.
Next up is the Hornby Island Housing Society, and this is, they're seeking 5,500, and this is kind of a capital housing project. I'm not sure where
Yeah,
you
it's
see
a
it
small-
landing in the future. But
Small capital and yeah, they're in touch with our housing efforts, but a deck is that capital or is it a short-term capital? Anyways, I got 5,000 for them.
Okay, this Hornby Island Residents and Ratepayers Association, I just have a note here that we typically go into agreements with them, and they're looking for a strategic plan kind of lunch. Given the amount of services that we cross with Hornby Island Residents and Ratepayers Association, it might be worth considering them adding this to their annual plan next year for consideration when they submit their budget, given that their strategic development might include a lot of our services, but I will, they're seeking 4,000 for a one-day kind of event, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I'll be doing 3,000 and I'll attend the session as well. Hira is probably at a juncture, to be honest. Fielded a call in December just for your awareness of joking in that whole area. There's some discussion initiating around splitting out of the contract, maybe for recreation and going to joking rather than Hira. There's questions around waste management. There's questions about the future of high seek and the confluence of all that, because there's almost like a generational change in the volunteer base on Hornby. A lot of them are boomers that are slowly retiring. I think it's very wise of Hira to have a strategic session at this point and try to feel the pulse, and it doesn't really live under our other tight budgets. So I'm quite happy as a one-off to fund what I think will be a very important session. But not the full amount. I'm still making them chase $1,000.
Okay, next up is the Indigenous Women Sharing Society, and they're seeking 20,000.
Got 3,000 from Bain Sound.
Area B will contribute 7,500.
What's the remainder? 9,500, yeah, okay. I'll put that in.
Okay, next up we have the Comox First Nation Guardian Watchmen, and they're seeking 8,200, largely tied to Little River projects.
Area B will contribute 4,100.
Sorry, that's 4,100?
4,100, yes.
I'll put 41, I'll put in 39. 3,900.
Okay. Next up, we have the Lake Trail Community Education Society, and although related to the school board, it seems like this is mostly focused on community drop-in and community initiatives, so appropriate at 3,250.
I'll do 1,000.
Area B will do 1,000 as well.
And then we have the Little River Enhancement Society, and
I thought they didn't put it in there. Okay.
yeah, they came in seeking 10,000.
Area B will contribute 5,000.
I'll do 5.
Next up, you have the Lush Valley Food Action Society, who also gave a delegation presentation today. And just a note from their presentation, they were seeking 25, but they were actually seeking 20. It was just an error in their presentation. I confirmed that after the meeting. In the past, this has been funded from Service 110. They also received funding from the Comox Valley Foundation. And you may have recalled Lush was here considering some sorry, Lush was not here. Lush was at the
Farmers market.
the rec commission seeking some farmers market and upgrades. They pulled that grant from the rec grant request, seeking this 20,000 as a highlight in their importance at this stage for what they're wanting to move forward with.
5,000 from Bain Sound.
I'll do 5.
We have the Macaulay Road and Area Neighborhood Association.
I'll cover it.
1,500. From Area C, Director Green, 1,500. Yeah. We have the McDonald Wood Park Society.
Area B will contribute $1,000.
Okay. We have the Millard Piercy Watershed Steward Society seeking 6,000.
I've got 3,000 from Bain Sound.
I'll go 15 then. Or I'll do 3.
3.
Bring it up to 6.
So we're changing Area C from 1,500 to 3,000 to complement 3,000 from Area B. A, sorry. Thank you, Jared. Next, we have the Mountain Air Avian Rescue Society seeking 15,500.
Mars want what, 15?
Yeah. As you recall, we also have a lease agreement with them
Oh.
for our fire hall as well. Provides funding, but that aside.
I'll do 10.
You gonna go 10? Area B will go 5,500.
Next up, we have the Strathcona Wilderness Society seeking 5,000.
Now, didn't they apply before? Years ago, and they're actually funded by the province, or somehow there was something with the province, they got money.
Can't recall. I remember they came through parks funding a while back.
That's what it was, yeah.
And then for student
We
funding.
gave them an intern or something to
For
do the
student,
trailhead,
yeah. Yeah, but this time this is more around their summer educational programmings at the Wilderness Center. So they are a nonprofit.
Area B will contribute 2,500.
Okay. You're in mindful.
Ditto.
Okay. Your C and B, thank you. The Hornby Spark is 5,000 they're seeking.
3,000, and that should net out the Hornby function.
That's correct. Hornby function is complete. Not last, sorry. We have the Solom River Restoration Society next, seeking 15,000.
Aerial B will contribute 5,500.
Okay. I'll make up the rest.
9,500 from area C.
Sure.
Thank you. So we have the Union Bay Historical Society here. I just have a comment here that we could look at this in the coming years if there continue to be an organization that needs funding, could be considered in the Arts and Cultural Facility Support Agreement as well. If they start advancing continuous asks for operations and capital type money, but right now they are included in the rural community grants for 21,000.
Area B will contribute 700.
700.
Make it 1,000.
1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should be in with the other historical societies, I think.
And for that one, I have 12,876, and that should net out that function to zero as well.
What's
And-
left over?
And we're out of money in my
How much?
hands.
Yeah. 7124 left. I'll put in 5.
Just following up on my comment, given that we have the arts and culture grants coming back with 2 buildings, is there any wanting to bring this back for an arts and culture proposal or leave it as is and continue under this service?
I would vote for that for sure. Well, it's too late to put it in there now, isn't it?
That'll be for future. Just some guidance to staff at this point, I guess is what we're seeking. Next year.
We've already committed, so.
I mean, this should be an item after the next election to review how that's working, because obviously, like, now we have long-term kind of agreements, but it leaves almost no money. So either, like, I think that the things you had in the report are right, like, do we increase our requisition? But I think we dealt with it for this year and just bring it to the new board next term to see what we do with it.
Okay. Just seeking clarification on the Cumberland School Society. We have 2,500 from B, 2,500 from C. Is that correct, Lisa? Yeah. Thank you. I think that completes the list in front of us and there's a budget remaining that this may, so the application process under this will remain open if anything comes in throughout the year. Where arts and culture obviously is going to be closed. 5,000 you've allocated, so make a note on the website as such.
So does this go to the board tomorrow or do we get to kick it for another?
CAC approval. So that's good. It's done.
It's here, okay. Do we actually, don't we usually sit on it for a month or something? Generally?
I think in years past, you have come back to subsequent meetings, but I think there's no reasons for the rural community grant to come back to the EASC. You've made the decisions here today, and unless you'd like to present this at a subsequent committee meeting, I think this is the awards you've noted.
Well, we can always amend it.
So I'll just, so often if new applications come in, if that's what you're thinking, we'll bring them usually back in July. And then again in November if things are remaining.
And the release of funds is end of July, right?
No, that's changed. Jared, what's the release funds for this? It's end of April now. Finance releases
is?
the funds. Yeah, they bumped it forward.
Before we get our tax money.
Yeah.
So it's working off last year's.
Sure.
Yeah, so. Okay,
All right. That concludes my portion of the presentation.
need a motion to support the list as written. Okay. So Anybody opposed? That's great.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of a perfect day.
What's related to the development, the temporary use permit, but so we're good. Yeah.
We're finished.
We're finished. Put on your sports coat and away you go. Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Motion.
We're adjourned.
Take their bite.
End of a perfect day.